Welcome to the Building Spirit-Filled Homes podcast by Red Mountain Community Church. This podcast exists to help us engage with a variety of topics through a biblical lens. It is our prayer that we'll take all that we learn from these conversations and apply them to our lives so that we can make a kingdom impact on those around us, starting in our home. Thanks for joining us for our conversation today. All right, we are back with Philip and Carly Teeples, talking about building spirit-filled homes through health and wellness. And so we're excited for another episode where we're going to focus on healing through lifestyle and that through a biblical lens. So we hope you join us on the podcast today. So welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been so long.
I know.
Today we're going to talk about healing through, I already forgot the topic, healing through lifestyle.
Yeah. Mhm.
So from your professional experience, and I love how you guys like to integrate health in spiritual practices.
Yeah.
How do we integrate that into like a lifestyle? Like, I love that term lifestyle because it's not like
Yes.
compartmentalized, it's a holistic thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
share some wisdom with us.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. Lifestyle medicine is a term that kind of integrates how does your lifestyle impact your health, and there's like 6 main pillars. So food and physical activity, stress management, sleep, social connections, and then kind of positive coping or avoiding risky substances. And that's kind of that's very evidence based, and a lot of lifestyle medicine is actually can prevent chronic disease too. So it's very interconnected.
And or reverse it.
Or
even.
reverse it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty amazing when you think about it, like, wow, there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah,
And when
absolutely.
you think about like a biblical lens through lifestyle, we believe that from the beginning, the foundations of health were given to us in Genesis. So
Yeah.
light, for example, the sun can be very healing. Obviously in bouts of it,
Sure,
but
right.
overall very healing for the body. And then
Yeah.
God made the land, the earth, and water essential for us, our health too, connecting with the ground, nature, and then water, of course, we need that. The more pillars are animal food, which was created. Well, we were given animal food in Genesis 9 after the flood, and then plant food, which is in the garden.
Sure.
And then breath, we talked about that last time. The
Yeah.
breath of life was given to us.
And rest.
And rest.
Yeah.
Very essential to have a day of rest, but also like consistent sleep hygiene. So, and then connection with others. Adam and Eve were given to each other, companionship. And so community and connection is a pillar of health as well. And then movement, like we're made to move and work the land and help each other. Our bodies are meant to move, and we're physical therapists, so we're really into promoting movement because that can be very healing as well.
So how do you in the average everyday home that's trying to just do all the things, right?
Yeah.
How would you encourage someone to develop kind of like this holistic lifestyle that you're talking about? Like, where do you start?
Where do you start?
Because
Great question.
like we talked about last time, the health industry can feel like so overwhelming. Like, I can't eat anything anymore if I don't do this exercise. Like, so coming from people who have figured out how to balance that in a healthy way, where would someone begin, like developing that?
I think what Philip was saying about in Genesis, I think it's just going back to how God designed creation. And it's not like you need to jump on the next exercise trend or try this next exercise class or try a new supplement. That's not necessarily going to be the thing you need to like add to your life, but what can you like dig down to the basics of what God started for us in that like he was saying, the food. So just like simply, if you're looking at maybe I want to change how I eat or, adjust some things. Well, what did God create? Looking at food, is this God created or is this like man-made? So that's a great litmus test to be like.
Just even a great place to start.
Exactly.
It is.
Is it processed or organic, right?
Yeah, right.
For
Is this
lack of
grown?
better terms.
Right.
That could be a good place just to shift a little bit. Even if you shift a
Just a
little
little bit.
bit,
Yeah.
Right.
that would start kind of
Yeah,
bringing some health.
for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah. And it's just like being aware of that. Like, oh, maybe I should just check out what these ingredients are. Oh, like I don't want to eat
Yeah,
all these
the simpler the
chemicals.
ingredients, the
Sure.
better.
So,
Yeah,
and that can, like, you don't have to be extreme with that, but
yeah,
it's the awareness of it and
Mm.
just like maybe I'll make a couple shifts in that area.
yeah,
If it's movement, like I was saying, it's not like I need to go sign up for Orange Theory or like
Right.
something. It's just like I'm gonna go walk. I'm gonna be in God's creation.
Mm.
nature walks.
I'm
Yeah,
just gonna get up every 30 minutes, not just
yeah.
sit for hours on end, right?
Sure.
So just getting back to simple movement.
Mhm.
Those
Consistent
are
movement, yeah, like
yeah,
mobility and make it really simplified. Like, oh, I can do 10 minutes of a quick workout. I think
Okay.
yeah,
it can be really extreme sometimes. Like 10 to 30 minutes is great, and you
yeah,
can
Okay.
still get
yeah.
benefits
Mhm.
Which that's huge,
daily.
because even
Yeah,
just hearing you guys like just get up every 30 minutes, it's like
yeah,
because we're
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sedentary in
Right.
most of our
yeah.
jobs, like we all
Mhm.
have these phones that can
Suck
like
Yeah,
us in.
keep us engaged.
but they
Yeah,
can also chime
They
every 30
can.
minutes and be
Yes.
like, oh, which is funny. Some
Yeah.
technology now is like move.
Yeah.
It's like the movement
yeah,
app or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
So,
We've
but
gotten to that point.
even like working out, it's like, oh, I need to go to the gym for 2 hours or
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
And what I'm
No.
hearing you say is, no, actually, you just need to do some movement,
Yeah,
Some
on a
and
daily
movement.
a little
basis.
bit as a time is kind of actually probably more
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it helps your even metabolic health, which is how your body's processing food.
And your
If
mental
you're
health.
Yeah, and
Just
of course, it's like a reset for your whole
yeah.
body to get
Yeah.
blood flow throughout your body, and
Yep.
Wow.
Mhm.
yeah, so simplifying that, being like, oh, I'm gonna get up, do a quick walk, do some
Mhm.
squats, do some,
Sure.
like
Which you
something
don't need
quick.
any equipment for, right?
No,
You
No,
no.
just need to move.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
that's
And
pretty
I
amazing.
think that to jump off of that category of movement is really changing our mindset around it and saying like I get to move my body. Like it
Mhm.
is a
Uh,
privilege
Yeah,
to move my body. God gave me these muscles like that I can even walk. It takes
it's
over
amazing.
100 muscles to
Yeah,
take one step. And
wow.
so if
it's
you just like
amazing.
view that, you're like that's amazing. Thank you God for like the ability to
Mm,
walk,
Yeah,
And people will learn like once the ability to walk is, stripped away, you're like, you had a surgery, you can't walk, you really miss it.
mm.
And you like, wow, you cherish it even more.
mhm,
So just like viewing movement as a privilege and like I get to do these
I
movements.
like that because
Yeah.
it is a perspective shift.
Yeah.
Because again,
mhm.
we take so many things
Yes.
for granted, but yeah, God loved us so much that He gave us
Mm-hmm.
this
Our bodies,
ability,
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we should steward it well
yeah,
and
Absolutely.
look at it as I get to versus like I
Yeah.
have
I have
to.
to.
Because
yeah.
that's what I usually be like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to do my push-ups
I know.
because the Teeples are coming over and they're like healthy people, and my wife's gonna ask me. And I had some donut holes this morning, so I'm already feeling guilty. But it's like, right? You get in
Well,
that like
It's
yeah,
true.
ridiculous, like mental
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
It
gymnastics.
and
is
that
mental
reminds me of like the
gymnastics.
all or nothing approach. Like
Yeah.
it's so easy to think like, oh, I already ruined
Messed
this
up.
day or messed up, and it's
Yeah.
like that's not how God is. Like we
Yeah.
Mm,
have grace upon grace, and
Yeah.
that's not how health should be. I mean, obviously there's lots of fads and being
sure.
like, okay, you have to be perfect with everything, but that's not what we're going for.
No.
Some is better than none, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
God, and I love how you guys continue to bring it back to an understanding of how God sees us, right? He's
Yeah.
not after
Yeah,
perfection.
No.
He's like, hey, walk with me.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Exactly.
this is grace upon grace. I love
Mhm.
that because it's
Mhm.
that understanding of, hey, just because you didn't do that movement today
Yeah.
or
yeah,
you went to McDonald's instead of
Mhm.
eating some carrots, like
yeah.
you'd be okay.
Do it the
Like
next
start
day.
again
Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
exactly.
Like you'll be
Exactly.
fine.
And
Yeah,
those are the nudges that really just we can lean
Mm,
into and be
I
grateful
like
for.
that.
Mhm.
God made it.
What have you guys seen as you guys encourage, counsel, equip people?
Mm.
What seem to be some maybe successful first steps? Or, I mean, we talked a little bit about that, but
Yeah.
anything you think that somebody listening today could say,
Yeah.
I just don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, where should I start?
Hmm.
great question.
I think a good one to look at. So sleep is very foundational to health,
Hmm.
and um, even if we're not even talking about like food and exercise, just checking in on like how is my sleep quality, how's my
Mm,
sleep health, because we know that you know the sleep time, our sleep time at night is the main time our body heals and recovers.
Mhm.
There's a lot of complex hormonal things that go on with sleeping and waking up. And that really starts off our day, whether we got proper sleep, deep
Mhm.
sleep, all of that. And like we're speaking as parents of little kids. So like
Sure,
ours is
yeah.
all over the place. But
Yeah.
like there are things we can put in place to improve sleep, and like whether that's going to bed earlier, shutting off the TV at a certain time so that
Okay.
blue light's not affecting.
Yeah, I've heard the
Um,
blue light thing is
yeah,
Yeah. It
can
can be
really
stimulating for the brain
hard
and
for you to kind of or slows down the
for
process of
sure.
exactly.
engaging what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, and blue light keeps cortisol, the hormone of our stress hormone, flowing through
Higher.
the body.
Yeah.
But really, what at night, what we want is we want to dim the lights, even getting out in the sunset to
Yeah.
get some good red light on us.
Oh,
It stimulates melatonin,
okay.
and melatonin is the sleep hormone. And
Okay.
so,
Which is what people like take now.
Yeah.
right,
So it's like a
Yeah.
fascinating thing. Instead of like taking melatonin,
yeah,
go out and see the unbelievable
beautiful
sunsets that
In
sunset.
happen
Arizona,
here in
Yeah,
especially.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Like that
exactly.
are
I
epic.
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Which is
So
amazing. Like it's
God
so
gave us
simple,
that.
like watching the sunset and then getting outside as quick as you can in the morning
okay.
around the sun, right? But or like whenever you get up,
When the sun is
that
rising.
sets your circadian rhythm for the
Yeah.
next
Ah,
day. So
And then
it's
it starts cortisol for the day because we
yeah,
need that little boost to get
okay.
ready for the day. So it's I would look at sleep. That's a
Okay.
huge foundational thing
for
too.
sure.
What about so when you say so how do you like is there a certain number
Mm.
of hours of sleep you need? Because like you said, hey, we've got little people like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's hit or miss, and then when you have older kids, they don't like to sleep ever. So it's kind of
Right,
like,
right.
do
What?
I sleep with go to bed before them, after them, like
That's so
forget
challenging.
about it?
Yeah.
Like how do you kind of navigate that
Yeah.
or how do you I mean you gave some great examples of how to
Yes.
engage in a better sleep faster. So that
Yeah.
I think is really
Mhm.
helpful.
hmm
But yeah, how do you create maybe a culture in your home of like
Yeah.
rest?
Rest.
Maybe that would
Yeah.
be good.
I
Yeah.
think like winding down rhythms is really important.
Yeah. Like a bedtime
A
routine.
routine every
Yeah.
night,
Okay.
trying to go to bed
Yeah.
around the same time every night. And so your body knows that
It's cueing
it's
that
yeah,
sleep
Oh, I like
hormone.
that.
Yeah.
consistently.
hmm
Typically around 7 to 9 hours is
Okay.
ideal. I mean, men can get a little less than women.
Okay.
Women should be getting at least
hmm
eight
hmm
to
Okay.
9. Um, and yeah, just thinking about it is like it has to be a continual cycle
Okay.
where
Mhm.
So
you're
you're creating habits
yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
of cueing. I like that.
Exactly.
you're
Like
putting your phone
you're
away.
preparing your
Yeah,
body to
Yes.
actually take advantage of what it needs.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
It's
that
so
makes
simple
sense.
when you think about
Yeah.
the rest of that.
Yep.
So I would say that's really foundational, like we
hmm
talked about with recovery and
And it
hmm
healing.
probably, once you create that habit, it probably helps allow your schedule not to control you, but you kind of
Yeah.
control your schedule
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like, hey, no, this is like tomorrow's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Like if we don't
yeah,
like do what we need to do
Get
to
some
finish well
yeah,
exactly.
today.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's fascinating in such a high pass or high paced culture
Yes.
where we're like there's never enough time. It's like
Right.
actually God gave us enough time, and
Yeah,
actually He tells us we have to rest because He knew we wouldn't do it on our
We are
own.
quite
So
fragile when you
yeah,
think
it's
about
we
it.
it
are
is a
fragile.
We need
Yeah,
like
fascinating
9
thing.
hours of sleep. Like we're very meek, and
yeah.
that's just
We're
another
dependent on
reminder,
God.
yeah, that we're dependent.
But
Yeah,
yeah, in 24 hours, that's a big chunk.
I know.
yeah,
I mean, when you think about
It
it,
is
that's a big chunk.
definitely.
yeah,
So
hmm
exactly.
yeah, that's
Another
a
thing
great
I thought
reminder.
about was just like preparing your next day the day before. So whether that be
Mm.
like, oh, I'm
Okay.
going to get my water or electrolytes ready the next day, or if you want to have like a more of a high protein breakfast, get that ready, and
Okay.
that's super essential for just like metabolism throughout the day. I
hmm
think just thinking about like yeah, how to integrate that. We have a lot of time throughout our day that we can try to strategize, but
Okay.
it's easy to slip away.
Slip away from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you said you talked about like a high protein
Mm.
diet in the morning, it when I think about food,
Yes.
Mhm.
is it I've heard mixed ideas of like when you should eat or how you should eat.
Yeah.
Do you think in the morning is eating kind of like a high protein diet in the morning, does that give you like the fuel for the rest of the day?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
a great jump
everyone's
start. Yeah.
different.
So,
Yeah, go for it.
well, really, it comes down to so if you're just having like a high carb diet or breakfast, I should say,
Okay.
whether that's like a lot of bread or cereal, whatever it is, that's going to affect your blood glucose. So
Okay.
adding in the protein with the carbohydrate is going to just stabilize. You're not going to get a huge
Ah,
glucose spike,
okay.
and then you get the crash, right, that you hear about.
Okay.
So really focusing on just implementing a little bit of protein with whatever your normal breakfast is can really help just like stabilize the mood,
Stabilize that.
stabilize your
Okay.
spikiness of your blood glucose.
Which
So
is helpful, right? Because
yeah,
sometimes it's
Yeah.
like you just grab or you make whatever you're
for sure.
used to, which actually kind of makes sense that like when you think of a well-rounded breakfast, like
Yeah.
you have like your pancakes, your starches, but then you also have like eggs and meat for the protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's like what you're saying is like that's because it balances it.
Yeah, right.
Like I
It's
can
needed.
have that pancake, which is so delicious, but I
Just
also have
yeah.
to have these other things, or else I'm doomed.
Yeah,
It's
your
gonna
body's
it's
gonna.
gonna keep you fuller for longer too. You're not gonna
Yeah.
want like that snack right like
Yeah.
soon after.
It's a little bit of metabolic
So
chaos if you don't have that
Okay.
balancing, like healthy fats to, whether that be avocados or
Okay.
nuts and seeds or whatever. But yeah, it's the balance is super important
Yeah.
Okay.
for the body.
And it's good to kind of think through that
yes.
versus
Yeah.
in the moment of like, oh,
Yeah.
now I have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
don't have time to
Yeah.
prepare that. But if you're developing that habit or cueing
Yeah.
your body to do what God has designed it to do,
Yeah.
it's just going to
sure.
function better
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Which then
Yeah.
is going to kind of help you through the day
Mhm.
Yeah.
with all the things mentally and physically
Exactly.
and spiritually
For
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
because you're aware
Yeah.
and able to engage, and then it kind of
Mhm.
sets you up for the sleep that you need
Mhm.
to like go
Yeah.
at it again
Yeah.
tomorrow.
You're describing it perfectly.
Perfectly.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
our physical health is going to impact our spiritual health and how we can connect with God. Like
Mm,
if we're always stuck in this brain fog, if we're stuck in like extreme
Yeah.
fatigue,
Feeling inflamed.
chronic
Yeah.
pain. He's a chronic pain specialist at the VA.
Mhm.
If we're stuck in that, like, how are we going to like effectively connect with the Spirit and be able to hear from
right.
Him?
Yeah.
So that's why we're passionate about how it does matter what you're doing with your body.
So you bring up an interesting thought.
Mhm.
As Philip deals with chronic pain, like
Yeah.
how have you seen? Because there's a lot of people out there, probably way too many people now. I feel like
Yeah.
that just experience chronic
Yeah.
pain
Yeah.
all the time,
Yep.
and so there's this desire to like just give me a pill,
Yeah.
like to fix
Exactly.
it, and we all
Right.
know like, well, that just doesn't really
Yeah.
work. It may in the moment,
Right.
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, lifestyle wise, that's just not going to
And
work.
it's not getting to the root of it.
Right. You're
Yeah.
just kind of spraying pesticide on the apples, but the tree's dying.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
It's a
well,
great
they're good
analogy.
for 6 months, and then it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, like why is everything?
Right.
So how do you, Philip, help invite people into one, an understanding of that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then two, like how have you seen that integration of pain and spirituality bring like healing and freedom, like
Yeah.
long term?
Yeah. That's a
Question.
great question.
Yeah. So as a chronic pain specialist, I always say chronic pain is complex. It's multifactorial.
Mhm.
And that the reason for that is usually what happens is we go through an injury or a procedure, surgery, something maybe traumatic
Okay.
of the body. And usually the body does a remodeling and healing process naturally
Okay.
within 3 to 6 months. What happens around 6 months is a sensitization of the nervous system. So it's kind of like we have a pain system, a brain,
Mhm.
spinal cord, and nerves that are all interconnected.
Okay.
So what I usually tell people is our pain system gets hypersensitive,
Mhm.
and so it almost sends more signals, and
Ah,
it's like a protective response of the whole body.
Yeah.
So pain is a danger signal.
okay.
The cool thing that we've learned about pain neuroscience is that pain doesn't always mean direct tissue damage.
Mhm.
So when we know that, we can kind of tell ourselves, all right, my body is in a protective state, but I can gently nudge it in the right direction. So
Okay.
movement is really essential to kind of reconcile gradually,
Ah,
pacing activity gradually. So most people are told like, well, if it hurts, then just stop.
okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that makes sense.
That makes sense
Yeah.
when you say
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of gray area between that.
Yeah.
So Typically, if it hurts, I usually say, well, we got to modify your movement. So if it feels safe, if you feel like you can trust it,
Yeah.
then we gradually nudge your body in that direction,
Oh.
because everyone needs to move.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so a lot of it's kind of retraining the nervous system to be
Mhm.
less protective, which is an interesting
Ah.
concept. So yeah, a lot of it's empowering people to be like, all right, what do I trust? How can I help my body adapt?
Mm.
Our bodies have an amazing capacity to adapt.
Yeah.
They're
Very
built
resilient.
to it to be resilient, and I think God made them that way.
Mm.
But with our modern lifestyles, it's hard because we're told language and messages that we should not have any pain, when actually pain is processed in the same centers of the brain as emotional pain. So physical and emotional pain are processed in the same centers of the
Oh,
brain.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And then the limbic system, the emotional system's also interconnected with that. So, like I said, pain is complex.
Yeah.
And then what impacts pain could be, our lifestyles, of course. If we're not moving, that actually can exacerbate the pain system response. If it's not getting blood flow, the nerves get more sensitized. If we're maybe having more processed foods or just more an inflammatory state of our body, that can increase the pain signals too, as well as like simple hygiene related stuff like sleep
Well,
hygiene
and stress.
and stress
Yeah.
management, because
Yeah.
a lot of times pain is tension too.
Yeah.
It's like a protective response.
So it is very, what I'm hearing you say, it is complex,
Very
Yes.
complex.
and very holistic. Like we actually can be doing more damage in all these other ways,
Yeah.
because our body's trying to protect itself,
Yeah.
and because we're seeking not pain,
Yes.
Yeah.
and comfort. But the reality of it is the way God made our body is we need to kind of move through the pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Accept it a little bit. Yeah.
And I love how
exactly.
you say that, like, is it safe,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, that's a term that could be,
It-
over analyzed.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying is like, okay, I mean, even like when you work out, like there's like a threshold of like, what weight can I lift?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, what? It's like, don't lift any weight, but like you
Right.
can lift this weight. Like
Yeah.
nobody's
Like,
saying
what
you got to
can you
bench
do?
press 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
stupid. Your arms are gonna pop off.
Right.
But like
right.
you can lift 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you're at 5,
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah.
Because again, your
Exactly.
reach. It sounds like what you're saying, because you're way more brilliant than me,
No.
and I'm trying to understand it. Is like you're really actually reminding your body that it's actually not in danger.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
as you show it that through movement, it those nerves chill out.
They
Probably
do,
is
yeah.
way too simplified way of
No,
saying
No,
it.
that was a great way of saying it.
And then
Yeah.
you actually start to heal.
Yeah,
Yes.
your body starts to be like, oh wow, I can
Yeah.
adapt and
That's
build
awesome.
up your tolerance.
Yeah.
So it's basically like expanding your bubble, because pain makes us
Smaller.
isolate and kind of
Okay.
feel like our
Sure.
our
Yeah.
bubble's smaller and smaller.
Mhm.
So I think it's really like pain and the complexities of pain. I'm very passionate about, because people aren't told that
Yeah.
they are given permission to move
They're not like
again.
given hope
Wow.
when you
Yeah.
have pain.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I
very,
feel like, culturally, we're just told what you started out. If it hurts, don't do it. Like
Yeah.
I've heard somebody say, like, yeah, I went to the doctor and it was like my shoulder, or it hurts when I do this, and the doctor's like, well, then don't do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well,
but
what
if I
Yeah.
need to
Yeah,
like
what if I wanna do that?
Be able to
functionally?
move your arm. Yeah, exactly. Like within that first 1 to 2 months, obviously, like listen to it.
Sure.
Like your body's in
Yeah.
that healing phase, but after about 3
Mhm.
months, everything is mostly
Interesting.
safe. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
If you think about
it
it.
Well, any final thoughts as we could talk probably for hours about this,
Yeah.
because there's so much complexity to it, and it is
Yeah.
a very holistic thing that has all these different components. But I love how you guys have stepped into it and helped us understand in more of like a simplistic
Mhm.
way, and also just a spiritual way. How
Yeah.
I mean, God is so involved. He's such an amazing creator.
Yes.
And he's actually given us this stuff, but we just
Mhm.
need to kind of understand it. And I'm grateful for guys like you that can say, like, oh, this is kind of how you step into that. Like
Yeah.
that there is hope
Yes.
and there is healing.
Yes.
But sometimes we just need to talk kind of to the right people to remind us of those things,
Mhm.
that we can step into to build endurance. I like how you said that,
Absolutely.
Philip. Like,
Yeah.
because what the Lord does is He takes us through things.
Absolutely.
He doesn't just pluck us out of it.
No.
Yeah.
So
Right.
understanding that pattern in a holistic lifestyle way makes
Yeah.
perfect sense when you kind
Yeah.
of step back and it's like, do that perspective shift that you guys have been talking about. So any final like one nugget thought? I mean, it's probably hard to just think of one thing.
I mean, I would say God wants to be a part of your healing journey.
That's good.
And I think working through that can bring more intimacy with God. We want quick fixes. And that's just our nature. But we don't need to suffer through our pain. I think God can really, and Jesus's presence is just so bountiful. So if we're able to kind of be like, well, I'm going to work on all of this holistic outlook on everything with my health journey, that can bring a lot of healing over time. It's usually not a direct fix. But it's very, very holistic.
That was good. That was very tweetable. That was a good word.
It's a good quote.
If you missed that, rewind like 30 seconds and hear it again. What about you, Carly?
I was going to say, like, I think that because we've been given these bodies, God calls us to, we have a great responsibility. And so there's amazing and very great value for praying for healing, but also like, how is God calling us to steward our bodies? So how can we partner with him in the spirit to like work together toward healing? And like, maybe that's also bringing in other people in our lives too. But I would say just like being encouraged to partner with God in your healing process, or even if it's just like a health journey.
And that's again a great reminder, because we tend to be so individualistic, which is not helpful. Like, and part of that's cultural. But the Bible is very communal. And it begins with our relationship with God. So thanks you guys for always bringing us back to that. You guys are amazing, brilliant. Again, if you want to engage with the Teeples, they're in our church body, and if you want to get connected to them, you can see them on a Sunday, or you can reach out to me. I can get you connected to them. But thanks for the nuggets, and we're gonna have to have you guys back again, because this was like, we only just scratched the surface. So thanks guys.
Appreciate it.